The Galactic Confederation representatives shifted in their seats as Commander Jack Harper finished speaking. The human team had spent 3 hours explaining the dangers of exploring the Veil Nebula without proper shields. To sum up, Harper said, pointing to the last image on screen, our research shows that radiation in the nebula can cut through standard Confederation ships. We strongly suggest waiting until proper safety measures are ready. A brief silence followed before Ambassador Zirith of the Lakari made a high-pitched laughing sound through their shiny throat. Commander Harper, Zirith said with clear disrespect in their voice, while we appreciate Earth's enthusiasm in joining our Confederation, I must remind you that our civilization has been traveling the stars for thousands of years before humans even left their planet. Lieutenant Susan Miller, sitting next to Harper, tightened her jaw but stayed quiet. The Veil Nebula has been fully mapped by our ships, Zirith continued. Your warnings, though well-meant, show how your species always fears what it doesn't understand. Harper looked at Dr. Alan Foster, the scientist who led the research team. Foster's face showed nothing, but his eyes revealed how frustrated he felt. The information we've shown isn't based on fear, Ambassador, Harper said calmly. It's based on solid science. Our civilization may be younger, but our understanding of this particular danger is sound. High Counselor Thrax, the large bug-like alien who led the Confederation team, waved a claw in dismissal. The exploration will go ahead as planned. Thrax announced, we thank Earth's representatives for their input, but our decision is final. As guards led the human team from the room, Lieutenant Miller whispered to Harper, they're making a mistake. Harper nodded grimly, and we'll be the ones they call when everything goes wrong. 2 weeks later, Harper sat in his office on Earth's orbital station, reviewing reports when Miller entered. They've announced the expedition team, she said, placing a tablet on his desk. 12 species represented. They've included 1 human observer. Harper looked at the name. Dr. Linda Martinez. Good choice. She's brilliant. But they're only taking her as a token gesture, Miller said bitterly. She'll have no real say in anything. I've already spoken with her, Harper replied. She knows what to look for, and she's taking personal protective equipment that the Confederation doesn't know about. Foster joined them, carrying fresh data. The latest scans confirm our models. The radiation in that sector is getting worse, not better. If they follow their planned route. He didn't finish the sentence. Have we received any response to our follow-up warnings? Harper asked. Miller shook her head. Only a formal note saying our concerns have been duly recorded. Harper stood and walked to the window, looking out at Earth below and the stars beyond. How long until the U.S. vigilance is ready? He asked. 3 days, Miller answered. Captain Wilson has been briefed. They'll be stationed at the edge of Confederation space, ready to respond if needed. Let's hope they're not needed, Foster said quietly. Harper continued staring at the stars. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. That's been humanity's approach to space from the beginning. He turned to face his team. And right now, we're the only ones preparing for what's coming. Miller's communicator beeped. She checked it and looked up with concern. The Grand Illuminator just departed Arcturus Station. The expedition has begun. And so has the countdown, Harper said softly. Let's make sure we're ready when they finally call for help. 2 months after the Confederation dismissed the human warnings, the first expedition to the Veil Nebula left with great celebration. The main ship, the Grand Illuminator, carried members from 12 Confederation species, along with 1 human observer, Dr. Linda Martinez. Martinez knew her role was mostly for show. She was supposed to record the journey for Earth's records, but she understood her presence was really meant to prove how wrong human concerns had been. She sat in her room on the 11th day of the trip, looking at data from the ship's sensors. Something caught her eye. A small but steady problem in the radiation readings from the edge of the nebula. Martinez tried to tell the ship's science officer, a Palaxian named Rithna, about what she found. Dr. Martinez, Rethna said with obvious fake patience. These changes are normal. Maybe human tools are just not as good as ours. Martinez held back her anger. The pattern matches exactly what our research predicted. I'm worried that as we get closer to the nebula, these readings will get much worse. Rethna's face petals moved in what Martinez now knew was amusement. I'll write down your concerns in the log. That night, Martinez sent a secret message back to Earth. Early data confirms Harper Foster model. Trying to convince ship leaders to change course. Meeting resistance. The answer from Earth came 12 hours later. Message received. U.S. vigilance being prepared for possible rescue. Keep watching. Martinez spent the next 3 days carefully monitoring the radiation levels. They increased exactly as the Earth models had predicted. She tried again to speak with the ship's leaders, but they continued to ignore her warnings. Your human anxiety is not helpful, Captain Drex told her during their last meeting. Please restrict your activities to observation only. As was agreed, Martinez returned to her quarters, frustrated but determined. She took another dose of the radiation medicine she had smuggled aboard and updated her logs. If things went as badly as she feared, these records would be important. On the morning of the 14th day, the ship crossed into the nebula's outer zone. At first, everything seemed normal. The ship's sensors recorded beautiful images of swirling gases and forming stars. The crew was excited, moving from window to window to see the spectacular views. By afternoon, the first signs of trouble appeared. A young engineer from the Arcturian species complained of dizziness and skin pain. The medical team thought it was a minor reaction to something in the food. 2 hours later, 3 more crew members reported similar symptoms. By evening, the number had grown to 15, with the first cases now showing clear signs of radiation sickness. Martinez watched from the doorway of the medical bay as doctors from 3 species tried to understand what was happening. Their confusion was clear. Their training had never prepared them for radiation poisoning, because their shielding technology had always protected them before. It's radiation sickness, she finally said, stepping forward. Your shields aren't stopping the particular type of radiation in this nebula. The chief medical officer, Solana, turned to her with disbelief. Impossible. Our shields are the most advanced in the galaxy. Advanced against what you know, Martinez replied. This is something different. Something we warned you about. As if to prove her point, the ship's alarms suddenly blared. The captain's voice came over the speakers, sounding strained. Medical team to the bridge. Multiple crew members have collapsed. Martinez rushed to her quarters, grabbed her emergency kit, and sent one final message to Earth. Situation critical. Multiple radiation casualties. Request immediate assistance. A crisis had begun. Captain Greg Wilson of the U.S. Vigilance woke to the sound of alarms. He rushed to the bridge, still pulling on his uniform jacket. Report, he demanded as he entered. Commander Olivia Jones turned from the main screen. Distress call from the Grand Illuminator, sir. Came in 3 minutes ago. Wilson moved to her side and listened to the message playing on repeat. This is the Confederation vessel Grand Illuminator, came a panicked voice. We have a medical emergency. Multiple crew members showing severe radiation poisoning. Our medical facilities cannot handle this many cases. Wilson and Jones exchanged looks. The humans were right after all, he said quietly. Your orders, sir, asked the helmsman. Set course for their position, maximum speed, Wilson replied. And tell Dr. Klein to prepare for many radiation victims. As the Vigilance raced toward the troubled ship, the situation on the Grand Illuminator grew worse by the hour. More than half the non-human crew now showed signs of radiation sickness, with many species already in critical condition. Dr. Martinez and the 3 other humans aboard remained healthy because of the protective medicine they had secretly taken before the journey. Medicine developed based on the research the Confederation had ignored. In the ship's medical bay, Martinez worked beside the ship's doctors, many of whom were now getting sick themselves. How are you not affected? asked Chief Medical Officer Xilana, her normally blue skin now pale and spotted. Human bodies can resist this kind of radiation better, Martines lied, not wanting to reveal her secret medicine. Let me help you. The ship's captain, a crystalline being named Drex, called Martinez to the bridge. His crystal body had developed concerning cracks along its main parts. You knew, he said when she arrived. Your people warned us, and we wouldn't listen. Martinez looked him straight in his many-faceted eyes. Yes, but Blaine won't help us now. A human ship is coming with medical supplies and equipment that can save lives. Drex's crystal form glowed weakly. The Confederation Council will not like having humans rescue us. With respect, Captain, Martines replied. Staying alive is more important than pride. In the 18 hours it took the Vigilance to reach them, 9 crew members died. The medical bay was overflowing, with sick crew members now filling the hallways and mess hall. When the airlock finally opened and Captain Wilson led the first rescue team aboard, Martines nearly collapsed with relief. Thank goodness you're here, she said, her voice showing her exhaustion. We've done what we could for the worst cases, but we're losing more every hour. Dr. Pamela Klein, the Vigilance's chief medical officer, immediately took charge. The radiation treatments we brought should work for most species, but we'll need to adjust doses based on body size and type. Wilson surveyed the scene of suffering around him. How many casualties so far? 9 dead, Martines reported grimly. Over 70 critically ill. The radiation levels were exactly as our models predicted, maybe worse. I need to speak with Captain Drex, Wilson said. Martines led him to the bridge, where Drex sat slumped in his command chair, his once brilliant crystal form now dull and cracked. Captain Drex, I'm Greg Wilson of the U.S. Vigilance. We're here to help. Drex turned slowly. Captain Wilson, I must thank you for responding so quickly, despite how we treated your warnings. That's not important now, Wilson said firmly. What matters is saving your crew. My engineers need permission to modify your life support systems to filter out the radiation. Do whatever you must, Drex replied weakly. You have full authority. As Wilson left to coordinate the rescue, Martinez touched his arm. They never believed we'd come, she said quietly. Wilson's face was grim but determined. Then we have 2 jobs, save lives and change minds. For 3 days, the combined crews of the Vigilance and Grand Illuminator worked without rest. The human medical team turned the Confederation ship's cargo bay into an emergency hospital. The human engineers installed special radiation filters throughout the ship's air systems to stop more exposure. Dr. Klein moved between patients, adjusting treatment doses for each alien species. Some responded quickly to the human medicines, while others needed special care. How's the Lakari ambassador doing? Klein asked a nurse as she checked the vital signs of a young Palaxian crew member. Better. The radiation damage to their breathing sacs is healing, the nurse replied. But the Tholians aren't responding as well. Their crystal structures were badly damaged. Klein nodded grimly. Keep trying the modified protocol. Their biology is so different from anything we've treated before. In another section of the ship, Captain Wilson helped the human engineers install the last of the radiation shields. Despite working for 36 hours straight, he refused to rest until all safety measures were in place. The filters are online in all sections, reported Chief Engineer Ryan Peters. Radiation levels are dropping throughout the ship. Good work, Wilson said, wiping sweat from his forehead. Now help the Confederation engineers understand how to maintain them. They need to know how to keep their people safe after we leave. Meanwhile, Dr. Martines worked with Captain Drex, whose condition had stabilized but remained serious. Despite his weakness, the Tholian captain insisted on staying informed about his crew. 23 dead now, Drex said quietly, reviewing the latest report. So many families to notify. But we've stopped losing more, Martines reminded him. The treatments are working. Most of your crew will recover. Drex's crystal form shimmered faintly. Because of human intervention. After we dismissed your warnings, he turned his faceted eyes toward her. Why did you come prepared with treatments for a disaster you were told wouldn't happen? Martins met his gaze. Because that's what humans do. We hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. By the fourth day, the crisis point had passed. No new deaths had occurred in the past 18 hours. The sickest patients were stabilized, and many crew members were showing clear signs of recovery. In the makeshift command center they had established, Captain Wilson met with his senior officers and Dr. Martinez to assess the situation. The Grand Illuminator can't continue its mission, Wilson concluded. Their drive systems are damaged from radiation exposure, and too many crew members are still recovering. We could tow them back to the nearest Confederation outpost, suggested Commander Jones. Wilson nodded. That's the plan. But first, I want complete documentation of everything that happened here. Every reading, every medical report, every modification we made. The Confederation may try to minimize what happened, Martins warned, or blame the disaster on some other factor. They can try, Wilson replied, but the evidence won't let them. 23 beings died because warnings were ignored. That can't happen again. Later that day, Ambassador Zirith, who had survived due to their species' natural resistance, approached Dr. Klein in the medical bay. I have sent a full report to the Confederation Council, Zirith said, their voice subdued. I included my personal testimony that human warnings were correct and should have been heeded. Klein looked up from her patient, surprised. Thank you, Ambassador. That couldn't have been easy. Pride should never outweigh truth, Zirith replied. My people taught me that lesson long ago. It seems we needed to be reminded. As the Vigilance prepared to tow the damaged ship home, Captain Wilson stood at a viewport, watching the nebula that had caused so much suffering. Its beautiful swirls of color hid deadly danger, a perfect metaphor for how appearances could deceive and how assumptions could kill. Next time, he murmured, perhaps they'll listen. 3 weeks after the rescue of the Grand Illuminator, the Galactic Confederation called an emergency meeting. The Great Hall, usually filled with calm confidence, now buzzed with tension and worried whispers. Commander Jack Harper and Dr. Alan Foster sat at the human section, their faces showing no sign of the satisfaction they might have felt at being proven right. Dr. Linda Martinez sat beside them, still looking tired from her ordeal. High Counselor Thrax, the massive bug-like alien who had dismissed the human warnings, now faced the difficult task of leading a meeting that would highlight that mistake. This council recognizes Commander Harper of Earth, Thrax announced, his usually loud voice now quiet. Harper walked to the center podium, his steps measured and calm. Honored representatives, he began, I come not to place blame, but to ensure we learn from what happened. 23 beings died because important information was rejected not because of bad science, but because of who provided it. A wave of murmurs spread through the room as different species showed their agreement or discomfort in their own ways. The radiation in the Veil Nebula affects different species in different ways. Humans, because of our planet's natural radiation and how we evolved, can resist it better than many Confederation species. Dr. Foster joined Harper to show new scientific data, including detailed studies of how the radiation had affected various crew members. We've created complete protection plans, Foster explained, showing designs for shield improvements and medical treatments. With these changes, the nebula can be explored safely. When they finished, Ambassador Zirith stood to speak. On behalf of the Lakari people, I must formally apologize to the human delegation. Our arrogance cost lives, lives that could have been saved if we had listened to your warnings. One by one, representatives from other Confederation species offered similar apologies. Finally, High Counselor Thrax addressed the room. The disaster at the Veil Nebula has shown a problem in our Confederation's thinking. We have confused age with wisdom, long life with insight. The human species may be young among us, but they have proven their value not just through their warnings, which we ignored, but through their actions when we needed help most. Frax turned to face Harper directly. Commander, this council proposes creating a joint hazard assessment committee with equal numbers from Earth and the Confederation to evaluate future exploration risks. We also request that human medical teams train our personnel in radiation treatment methods. Harper nodded seriously. Earth would be honored to participate, High Counselor. As the meeting ended, Lieutenant Susan Miller, who had come with the delegation, leaned toward Harper. Not exactly how we wanted to prove our point, she said quietly. No, Harper agreed, watching the Confederation representatives leave the chamber. But sometimes the hardest lessons are the ones people remember. Later that evening, in a quiet corner of the Confederation headquarters, Captain Greg Wilson met with Captain Drex. The Tholian's crystal body still showed signs of radiation damage, but was clearly healing. I wanted to thank you personally, Drex said. Without your quick response, many more of my crew would have died. Wilson shook his head. We only did what anyone would do. But that's just it, Drex replied. We wouldn't have done the same. If the situation had been reversed, if a human ship had been in danger after ignoring our warnings, I'm not sure our response would have been as quick or as complete. You underestimate yourselves, Wilson said. Perhaps, or perhaps we've overestimated ourselves for too long. Drex's crystal body glowed with emotion. The Confederation has existed for thousands of years, Captain Wilson. In all that time, we've rarely had to question our assumptions. Your species has forced us to do just that. Wilson smiled slightly. That's what humans are good at, questioning assumptions, especially our own. A valuable trait, Drex admitted, one the Confederation needs more of. As they parted, both captains knew that the relationship between humans and the Confederation had changed forever. A change born in tragedy, but one that might lead to something better. 6 months after the Vale Nebula incident, humans and the Confederation were working together in ways no one had imagined before. What started as a reluctant admission of human insight had grown into true partnership across many fields. The Joint Hazard Assessment Committee, first suggested as a political gesture, had become essential to Confederation operations. Every planned mission now went through careful risk analysis, with human and alien scientists working side by side. On the research vessel Horizon, newly built with both human and Confederation technology, Dr. Eric Powell adjusted a radiation detector while his Arcturian colleague, Science Officer Felix, watched the readings. The new sensors can detect changes that our old systems would have missed completely, Felix noted, her 4 eyes blinking as she studied the data. Powell nodded. And the improved shields are working perfectly. We're getting good readings without any danger to the crew. The Horizon was the first true joint project in Confederation shipbuilding. Human design elements appeared throughout, from radiation protection to emergency systems. What Confederation engineers had first resisted, they now studied and adapted into their own designs. Captain wants to know if we're ready to go deeper into the nebula, said Lieutenant Kate Rodriguez as she entered the lab. We're all set, Powell confirmed. The radiation levels match our predictions exactly, and all safety measures are working well. As the Horizon ventured further into the nebula than any previous mission, Captain Nyla Baker watched from the bridge how smoothly the mixed crew now worked together. What had started as awkward forced cooperation had become genuine respect and teamwork. Her communication officer, a Lakari named Zilith who happened to be Ambassador Zirith's child, turned from his station. Captain, we've received a message from Confederation headquarters. The Council has approved the plans for the Earth Confederation Education Exchange. Baker smiled. The program would bring human teachers and students to Confederation worlds to share knowledge, while Confederation experts would visit Earth to do the same. Tell them we're pleased to hear it, she replied, and send them our latest nebula data. I think they'll find our discoveries very interesting. That evening, during the ship's night cycle, Baker sat in her quarters reading reports when her door chimed. Come in, she called. Ambassador Zirith entered, looking slightly uncomfortable in the human-designed room with its stronger gravity. Captain Baker, I hope I'm not bothering you. Not at all, Ambassador. What can I do for you? Zirith sat in the special chair Baker kept for non-human visitors. I've been thinking about the changes of these past months, the ambassador said. When your species joined the Confederation, many of us saw it as just a formality, bringing along a promising but undeveloped civilization. Baker stayed quiet, letting Zirith continue. What none of us expected was how quickly you would become necessary, not just as helpers, but as drivers of change in systems that had stayed the same for centuries. Change isn't always comfortable, Baker observed. No, Zirith agreed, but it is necessary. My species has explored space for over 8,000 years, yet in 6 months of real collaboration with humans, we've made advances that we missed for centuries. The ambassador's throat sacs pulsed with a color that Baker had learned showed sincere feeling. I came to tell you not only my personal thanks, but to inform you that the Lakari leaders have formally recommended that humans be given full senior status in the Confederation, with all the rights and duties that comes with it. Baker's eyebrows rose in surprise. Such status normally took centuries to earn. That's quite an honor, Ambassador. It is simply recognizing reality, Zirith replied. Sometimes the youngest eyes see most clearly. 1 year after the Vale Nebula incident, a ceremony took place at Confederation headquarters on Arcturus Station. The Great Hall was filled with members from all Confederation species, including many humans. In the center of the room stood a memorial to those who died in the disaster. 23 pillars of glowing crystal, each carved with a name and lit from within by light, matching the color of their home star. Admiral Paul Russell, now Earth's main representative to the Confederation, stood before the gathering with High Counselor Thrax beside him. Today we remember not only those we lost, Russell began, but the new path we found together through that tragedy. What began as a painful lesson in the dangers of ignoring unfamiliar viewpoints has grown into one of the most productive periods of progress in Confederation history. Screens around the hall showed the achievements of the past year. New safety rules that had already prevented 3 potential disasters, medical breakthroughs that came from the radiation treatments developed during the crisis, engineering advances that combined the best parts of human and Confederation technology. Humans have a saying, Russell continued, that hard times don't build character, they reveal it. The response to the Vale Nebula incident revealed the true character of both humanity and the Confederation. Not in our initial mistake, but in how we chose to move forward from it. Thrax stepped forward, his massive form somehow less intimidating than it had been a year earlier. Today, the High Council fully approves the Treaty of Shared Wisdom, the Counselor announced. This agreement officially establishes the principles of working together and mutual respect that will guide all future Confederation activities. The treaty, shown on the main screen, contained at its heart the simple principle that had been so faithfully ignored, that knowledge should be judged on its merit, not its source, and that the newest perspective might offer insight the oldest had overlooked. As the formal ceremony ended, Dr. Linda Martinez was approached by Captain Drex of the Grand Illuminator. His crystal body, once cracked by radiation, now shone with restored health. Dr. Martinez, he greeted her. I'm pleased to tell you that the Grand Illuminator will begin a new mission next month. We would be honored if you would join us, not as an observer this time, but as our Chief Science Officer. Martinez smiled. I'd be happy to, Captain. Where are we going? The Cygnus Rift, Drex replied. Early scans have found anomalies similar to those in the Vale Nebula. This time, however, we plan to proceed with all proper caution and with human insight from the start. Later, at the reception after the ceremony, Commander Jack Harper found himself standing beside Ambassador Zirith, watching as humans and aliens mixed with an ease that would have seemed impossible a year earlier. I doubt this is how you imagined your warnings would be heeded, Zirith said. Harper shook his head. Not at all. I would have preferred a way with fewer deaths. As would we all, the ambassador agreed solemnly. Yet I wonder if a less dramatic lesson would have truly changed our thinking. Some lessons, sadly, must be learned the hard way. The important thing is that they're learned, Harper replied, and that we move forward together. Across the room, Lieutenant Susan Miller was talking with a group of young Confederation officers, explaining the human idea of devil's advocate and how deliberately challenging existing beliefs could lead to better decisions. Dr. Alan Foster was showing a new radiation detection device to a crowd of Confederation scientists, the product of combined human and alien research teams. And throughout the station, on ships in orbit, and across thousands of worlds, the Confederation's oldest civilizations were learning an unexpected lesson from their youngest member. That true wisdom lies not in the confidence of experience, but in the humility to recognize that no perspective, no matter how ancient, sees the complete picture. The universe, it seemed, had much to teach them all.